Danger zone, flooding, evacuations, the threat of mudslides, and this daring rescue. The West Coast hit by a major rainstorm, dumping nearly a foot of water in one day. There could be more. Happy New Year. From Australia to Europe, it's already 2006 as Americans get ready for their own celebration. Stranded. How these passengers were trapped on a train for 2 days. Why did it take so long for Amtrak to fix the problem? And Back to the Future, trying to restore the magic of going to the movies.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with John Seigenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. While millions of Americans are getting ready to celebrate the New Year tonight, there is no celebration for many people on the West Coast. A major storm hit the coast again today, bringing with it heavy rain. It has caused widespread flooding, evacuations, and mudslides. Tonight, rescue workers are scrambling to save lives, and there is the possibility of more rain this weekend. NBC's Jennifer London is in Guerneville, California tonight. Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening, John. A light rain has returned after taking a much-needed break this afternoon. This after torrential rains soaked this river town for days. The swollen Russian River flooded the small town of Guerneville, sweeping away this backyard deck. These National Guardsmen, just home from Iraq, helped evacuate residents. By mid-morning, people were being rescued from their homes as floodwaters reached dangerous levels.
We just got back from Iraq, our unit. That's why he's in desert camis.
Lunch, Becky.
April Aikens dislocated her shoulder, saving herself and her cats.
We got them out. All our things are underwater, and we're 2 stories up.
At the Russian River Resort, every hotel guest was sent home. New Year's Eve plans washed away by the rising water.
It just makes us go back to the city and do something different.
Yeah. It'll be an urban New Year's Eve instead of a country New Year's Eve.
All over Northern California, the intense rainstorms overshadowed the coming celebration of the New Year.
We found that it's very flooded in this area.
East of Guerneville, California's wine country is underwater. The Napa River reached record levels. In Yountville, fast water currents saturated the vineyards. Rising water in Marin County near San Francisco trapped this elderly woman inside her car. She nearly drowned before rescue crews pulled her to safety. And in Sacramento, flood control gates were opened to ease pressure on the strained levees. Interstate 80 near Fairfield was underwater, bringing holiday traffic to a standstill. The wet weather stretched as far as Nevada, where a dangerous combination of rain and melting snow forced the Truckee River to spill over its banks onto Reno streets.
Watching the storm approach the coast for a number of days, and it got on board late yesterday, and boy, did it pack a punch.
In Southern California, preparations continued for Monday's Tournament of the Roses parade despite an ominous forecast. For the first time in 51 years, it may literally rain on the parade. Today, the river rose 6 feet above flood stage, and it's still rising. And now residents here are keeping a watchful eye on what tomorrow may bring. John, more heavy rains are expected.
Jennifer London in Northern California. Jennifer, thank you. Now, for more on what's ahead for the West Coast on New Year's Day, joining us is meteorologist Elise Finch of NBC's digital weather channel, Weather Plus. Elise, what do you expect tomorrow?
Well, John, we expect more of the rain. This onshore flow out west is going to continue. And whereas in days past we saw the heaviest rain in Washington and Oregon, the flow around low pressure just off the coast is going to pump all of that moisture into Northern California. So we'll see several more inches of rain as we head in throughout New Year's Day. But we're also going to continue to see, unfortunately, the flooding without a break until sometime in the middle of next week. John?
Elise Finch. Elise, thank you. Security is once again a top concern around the world tonight as major cities ring in the new year. New York City is no exception, where 10,000 police officers are on duty for the traditional ball drop at Times Square. They will be focusing on the 1 million revelers expected to pack the square tonight, where thousands have already been waiting for hours just to get a spot to watch the festivities. Now, as Americans get ready for the stroke of midnight, in other parts of the world it is already 2006.
3, 2, 1.
Sydney, Australia was the first major city to kick off the New Year celebrations. A light show featuring a huge beating heart and heart-shaped fireworks dazzling an estimated 1 million people who lined the harbor. In Hong Kong, the countdown set off a light and sound display in 20 buildings along the waterfront. Tokyo's celebration featured thousands of balloons released at the stroke of midnight, floating their way skyward around the illuminated Tokyo Tower. While in Taiwan, it was fireworks around the towering skyscraper that is called Taipei 101, which is currently the tallest building in the world. In Beijing, the New Year was ushered in with the ringing of a bell to dispel bad luck. And there was the dancing of dragons to attract good luck and happiness. Midnight in Moscow found the Kremlin aglow as crowds completely packed Red Square.
I think that our life will become better in Russia.
In Iraq, the Baghdad skyline was dark due to a curfew, but there was some celebratory gunfire. And in Berlin, the huge party stretches for blocks, with lights and music and fireworks over the Brandenburg Gate. Now to New Orleans. It is a city once synonymous with good times, that is until the hurricane rolled in. Tonight, residents are hoping to see good times roll again, even before the clock strikes midnight. Here's NBC's Ron Mott.
In New Orleans, the old acquaintance to be forgot is named Katrina.
We've been through some tough times. We're back, we're open.
And ready to close one of the darkest times in their history. They'll start this new year in a new way in Jackson Square. Gone is the traditional ball drop.
Every city around America has a ball.
Replaced by a big pot of gumbo designed by Brian Kern's company and filled with New Orleans ingredients.
Good morning, America, how are you?
Added to the mix, folk singer Arlo Guthrie, who had a hit with the city of New Orleans in the early 70s.
I'm the train that calls the city of New Orleans.
And hopes to make the city a hit again. He headlines tonight's festivities.
All right.
Looking back, a year seems so long ago. Wall-to-wall bodies on Bourbon Street then, plenty of elbow room now.
We go,
77,000 fans here for the Sugar Bowl then. Empty now after Katrina left the dome less than super. A fireworks shower over the Mississippi then. Katrina threatened to darken the skies now because of concerns over blue tarps and debris catching fire. But with some safety adjustments, the Riverside show will go on.
All the best wishes for your town.
Buoyed by the arrival of something not seen here in 4 months. The Delphin Renaissance is the first cruise ship carrying tourists to dock here in the port of New Orleans since Katrina, and officials are counting on many more happy returns in the coming year. Hopeful wishes for those ready to start over. In a city eager to move forward after the year that set it back. Ron Mott, NBC News, New Orleans.
This has been a frustrating holiday weekend for the Amtrak passengers headed from Orlando to New York. The train made a sudden and unscheduled stop, and the people on board were stranded. NBC's Pat Dawson is live at New York's Penn Station tonight with that story. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, John. They arrived here hungry, exhausted, in some cases wearing the same clothes they'd had on since Thursday. Some of the passengers were out of money, and just about all of them had long since run out of patience.
Worst ever.
11:24 Saturday morning, Amtrak 98, also known as the Silver Meteor, arrives at New York's Penn Station, more than a day late.
I've never been treated so inhumanly.
The travel nightmare begins Thursday morning as the train heads north through Florida, due at stops in Washington, Philadelphia, and New York Friday morning. But trouble starts after a freight train derails on tracks near Savannah, shared with Amtrak's passenger routes. North and southbound trains are snarled, none worse than the now stalled Meteor, which spends 12 hours just sitting and waiting outside Jacksonville.
It was hard because you sat there for so long. You went to sleep, you woke up, and you're still there.
Finally, at 4 a.m., the train starts. Just 2 hours later, another halt in rural Georgia. This delay lasts 8 hours.
They gave us no alternatives, and I understand that they're telling you people that they gave us an option to get off the train in Georgia. Get off the train in Georgia and do what?
Passengers say they were required to pay for what food and water was available despite the nearly day-long ordeal. Many of the train's toilets also backed up, and toilet paper became a prize commodity.
We had very few options with which to alleviate the problem. We tried to get buses for whatever reason, perhaps the holiday weekend. Charter buses were simply not available in sufficient numbers.
Amtrak finally provided free meals yesterday, too late to soothe frustrated and hungry riders.
People ride Amtrak because they don't want to fly. And they've made a lot of flyers out of a lot of people in the last 50 hours that we were on a train.
This evening, Amtrak said it deeply regretted the problem, which it described as unavoidable. The railroad also said that currently it has no plans to offer compensation to the passengers. John?
NBC's Pat Dawson in New York. Pat, thank you. It is already 2006 in Iraq. While 2005 ended with more violence, both Iraqi and American officials say there are reasons to look for change in the year that's just beginning. Here's NBC's Tom Aspel.
Baghdad's latest killing ground, a sewage treatment plant where this morning police found the bodies of 6 men, blindfolded and shot. Insurgents killed more than a dozen Iraqis around the country today, including 2 policemen in a Baghdad bombing. 40 miles northeast of Baghdad, near Baqaba, 5 Sunni Muslim political party workers were killed in another blast. Despite the violence, the U.S. military says the situation is improving looking ahead to 2006.
The capacity of the Iraqi security forces is stronger. The leadership of the Iraqi security forces at all levels is stronger.
Iraqi authorities agree their future looks better.
With a real experience of mistakes and successes, now we can really tackle the new era.
Tackling the new era means defeating the insurgents. In 2005, they concentrated their attacks against Iraqi security forces and soft targets with IEDs and suicide bombers. Yet in 2005, Iraqis defied threats from insurgents and went to the polls 3 times, twice to elect a parliament and once to approve a constitution, and put Saddam Hussein on trial for crimes against humanity. The Bush administration said these signs were encouraging enough to begin reducing the numbers of American troops here in the next few months. 842 American service personnel were killed in Iraq this year, 4 fewer than the year before. In 2006, Iraq's new parliament will begin a 4-year term and choose a government, a move towards political stability Iraqis and Americans hope could weaken the insurgency. Tom Aspel, NBC News, Baghdad.
And this program note, tomorrow on Meet the Press, a roundtable on Iraq and other major events of 2005. Among Tim Russard's guests will be presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin and veteran journalist William Safire. When NBC Nightly News continues tonight, in-depth travel troubles. Will it be a happy new year ahead for the nation's airlines? And beefing up the box office, the new attractions that may be coming to a movie theater near you. NBC News in-depth tonight. Unfriendly skies for the nation's airlines in 2005. They suffered their 5th straight year of losses. Since 9/11, the industry has lost more than $35 billion. But there is evidence the skies are clearing, as we hear from NBC's Tom Costello in-depth.
It was as if a storm ripped the wings off almost every airline in 2005. 7 U.S. carriers now fly into the new year under bankruptcy protection.
It was the year in which all of the mainline legacy carriers had to face up to the challenge of the new low-cost carriers.
Low-cost carriers like Southwest and JetBlue undercut the big carriers as skyrocketing jet fuel prices made it impossible to climb out of a tailspin. Northwest declared bankruptcy in 2005 and continues to fight with its mechanics union. Bankrupt Independence Air has warned its employees it may go under next week. And Delta Airlines filed for Chapter 11 in September. Its 6,000 pilots voted on Wednesday to accept another round of pay cuts totaling 14%, while employee pension plans at Delta and other carriers have already been dumped or are in jeopardy. Delta, just the latest example of pilots who have given up 30, 40, even 45% of their salaries since 9/11.
No one likes to give up a salary. No one likes to give up benefits. But we realize that we have to help and we have to get the industry turned around. On the other hand, once it is turned around, we would expect to see the rewards on the other side.
And many analysts say 2006 could be the year of a turnaround. Already, U.S. Airways has emerged from bankruptcy after tying the knot with America West. And United hopes to fly out of bankruptcy in February. But the cost-cutting could mean travelers will have to pay more for the basics, like a carry-on bag, an assigned seat, even a pillow or a can of soda, as leaner, meaner airlines emerge.
This is not an industry that pays well. It's not an industry that has a lot of job security. But overall, going forward, most of the industry's problems have been addressed or are being addressed.
The greatest risk for airlines now?
Another spike in fuel and external events such as war and terrorism.
But for now, fuel prices have dropped and passenger seats are full, giving the nation's airlines a tailwind going into the new year. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, stem cell scandal. A top South Korean scientist on the defensive following accusations he faked his own research. To South Korea now, and the rise and fall of a top scientist. His groundbreaking work was hailed as a breakthrough for stem cell research. Now it's being claimed much of that research was phony. Here's NBC's Charles Sabine.
Early this year, he seemed to have the world at his feet. South Korean doctor Hwang Woo-suk, already catapulted into scientific superstardom after claiming he had cloned a human embryo, and Snuppy the dog, Time magazine's invention of the year. Then, in May, the biggest claim of all, in the journal Science, the extraction of material from cloned human embryos. The holy grail in stem cell research that could help treat diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. The 53-year-old became a national hero. But in November, Hwang's empire began to unravel when he admitted using eggs donated by lab workers, a violation of ethics. Then an even bigger bombshell. 8 days ago, investigators announced the cloned stem cell lines Hwang had claimed to have developed were faked.
I have no idea why Dr. Hwang lied. He must have lied to people in his own team, perhaps to others, about what he had actually accomplished.
His work now being described as one of the most dramatic frauds in scientific history, Hwang quit the university in disgrace. South Korea, a country obsessed with education, has seen its pride turn to anger and disbelief, with many asking if the demands of success had been too great.
Having rock star status, that adds a lot of pressure to somebody, and I suspect he may have been feeling too much of it.
The scientific community based much of its high expectations of stem cell advance on Hwang's claims. Now the field is facing unanswered questions. Is research back at square one? What will happen to funding? And is the United States now back as front runner in the field? Back in South Korea, meanwhile, investigations continue, with even Snuppy's origins now under scrutiny. As for the man who had been known as God's hand, he's standing by his work, as officials ponder what action to take against him. Charles Sabine, NBC News, London.
When Nightly News returns this New Year's Eve, how movie theater operators are trying to bring the magic and the crowds back to the movies. Finally tonight, hopes for a happier new year in the movie business. With ticket sales slumping for the third year in a row, some theater owners are coming up with new ways to bring the magic back to the experience as they attempt to create silver linings for their silver screens. Here's NBC's Mark Mullen.
When Hollywood is not rolling out highly promoted big-budget blockbusters.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
When a film like Brokeback Mountain, made by NBC Universal, is not creating buzz among moviegoers.
I'm sold out to the 7:30, the 8:30, the 9 to 5, and 10:15.
Selling out shows, or even filling seats for that matter, is a struggle, especially in 2005.
Certainly, with 19 down weekends in a row, no question that we've had a tough year at the box office.
But why? Screenwriter Richard Walter has one theory.
I'm going to upscale movie theaters. I'm paying $14 and $15 and $16 for a ticket. You can take your family to the movies and have popcorn. It's $150.
And after paying good money, moviegoers still have to watch a series of commercials, which theater owners defend.
The advertisements are short, and they're all at the front of the front end of the picture.
These days, big screen movies are also competing more heavily against other entertainment choices, including home theater, DVD systems, and even the internet. For theater owners, it's a wake-up call, so now many are doing whatever it takes to keep movie patrons happy. In Los Angeles, the AMC Theater Company is just the latest to open a 15 big-screen complex equipped with love seats, a concierge to help customers, all-you-can-drink soda fountains, and more ushers to keep down talking and cell phone use.
Our theater owners are becoming more proactive about enforcing good behavior.
But for all the attempts to improve the movie-going experience and all the theories explaining the Hollywood movie slump, there is one remedy agreed on by virtually all the critics.
All they've got to do is make better movies. Audiences aren't stupid, they're smart. They don't need 3 hours plus of a third remake of something that was really, really perfect the first time they did it.
A clear message from fans to Hollywood, which no doubt hopes box office business in 2006 will produce a much happier ending. Mark Mullen, NBC News, Los Angeles.
That's NBC Nightly News for this Saturday. Thanks for watching. I'm John Seigenthaler reporting tonight from New York, and we leave you with a live look at London, where thousands of revelers are just about to ring in 2006. Have a happy New Year. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.